Oh, and just like that, oh my God, I can't believe what Craig is wearing. We have the panel, and this panel is particularly important. Why? Because these guys are the reason that this conference is here today. So I really want you to give a huge cheer to these 4 people. Yeah, correct, 4. Natalie Brunel, Larry Lepard, Greg Foss, and Jeff Booth. They gave us water.
Well, to say that I'm honored to be on stage with these 3 voices and brains is an understatement. I've learned so much from the 3 of you, and I'm just humbled to be sharing the stage. And this panel is called For the Kids. And I want to start in kind of an interesting place, because the 3 of you I've had the chance to get to know a little bit on a more personal level. And what I find so inspiring is how much you care about not only your own children, your own families, you're all very wholesome family men, but you care about the future generations, the kids all over the world that are growing up in a more and more uncertain time. And I have found that being a millennial, I'm pretty traditional. I want to be a mom. I don't have children yet. But as I entered into my career, I found it so hard to feel like I'm financially secure enough to actually start a family. And I found a lot of my peers, my girlfriends, were having the same issues. They felt like they were never at a point where they could finally start a family. And even entering into our 30s, we graduated into a recession. This is my personal journey. And now we hit our 30s and we have another crisis before us. And so it just feels like it's harder and harder for young people to feel like they can catch up. And so I'm just kind of curious, why do you feel so passionate about making sure that young people have access and knowledge about Bitcoin? And what does this mean for really the future? How important is this?
Who wants to take it? And many of you know, and that's why I wrote the book. That's why I looked at my kids and I said they're not going to grow up in a very fair world, and that world's going to get more and more dystopian, and it's very predictable. And how many people would see it moving from in the system? How many people would be kind of reinforcing that system, yelling at the system, making that system worse with all that they're doing? And so it's critically important. We're living through a phase transition in human history that we've never seen before, and that phase transition is bound to be messy, but it can be beautiful on the other side if we take this idea and just move faster in this idea. Because the entire world we construct is really just an idea, right? And it's a reflection of our beliefs. And if we believe that somebody up top, they should be able to create inflation and take money from us, and we believe that the system requires that, then we'll reinforce that system. And if we believe collectively that there's a new way that's better, we'll just move, and that'll happen, and it'll bring abundance to my kids, many in this audience, their kids, and the world will heal. And it's literally as easy today because of Bitcoin as making a move, choosing one side, and as you do, you just actually you'll see a different frame of reference. Like talking to many of you outside in last night at the bar, but but it's just staggering how great people are. And that's actually in all of us. We also have the devil on the other side, that when systems are broken, we can see the worst in humanity. So it's very, very important that every one of you, everyone on this planet actually has all the power. We have the power to make the world a better place. All we have to do is use it.
Greg, you coined it. For the kids. Hashtag for the kids.
Yeah, it's always great to be on stage with the two of you, because I can just get swept along in your vortex of beautiful. But I'm lucky to have lived a life where I married a beautiful family lady from a Catholic family that I wasn't exposed to, and perhaps part of my shortcomings in my childhood, I didn't understand the importance of a family and how it can teach values. And it has nothing to do, in fact, it's almost inversely proportional to how well off a family is and how tight sometimes the kids are with the, I've met a ton of families that, their dad is a Fiat miner. He works, 70 hours a week, and the kids are gonna, that they've gone off the rails. And that's actually really unfortunate. So I love the kids because I've been taught how to love kids from my wife Julie, but also just from experiencing family values like Jeff and Larry Lepard, right? It's you learn it. And if you're gonna measure yourself by any metric when you've gone through life, I suggest a pretty valuable one is measuring it by your children. That's what you leave the world. And so I just want to leave the world with my kids who I hope are going to follow in our footsteps to make the world a better place than when we joined it. And right now, I have to tell you, my generation has failed that. I'm not happy to say, but my generation are generally a bunch of very selfish, pulling forward gains for our generation at the expense of our children. And that's just absolutely wrong from my perspective. So for the kids.
Yeah, I share Greg's values and Jeff's values regarding family. And what I would say is that, and I've told Natalie this and others, the younger people here, is that this just isn't the same world I grew up in. I grew up in a nicer world than the world we live in today. And, people they were kinder, it was fairer, it was a better place. And it really troubles me how that's gone. It's not there anymore. And I know why. It's because the money is broken. The money is broken. And as a result of breaking the money, they're breaking society. And it's heartbreaking. And it's why we fight for this new system.
Why does it make you emotional? I mean, Greg, you also got emotional earlier. Why does it make you emotional?
It's just wrong. It's just wrong. In life, what are you if you're not going to take a stand on what's right and what's wrong?
So true. So true. I've met some of the best people in this space. I just that needs to be said because they are so value driven, and I'm kind of curious, what kinds of changes have you seen watching your kids grow up and maybe watching society at large? Because I do notice that I even have friends who they're like, I'm not even going to have kids anymore, or the climate is going to destroy the planet. So what is the point of having children? They no longer think about the future. And when I was little, all I dreamed about was the future, and the future was full of hope. And we have politicians who have ran on the platform of hope, representing hope, but yet it feels like the more you look around us outside of Bitcoin, it feels like hope is so hard to come by. And that's why I think for so many of us, we're so passionate about Bitcoin. It exudes these powerful emotions, because if not Bitcoin, then what,
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at this whole thing, I obviously I'm embarrassed about getting so emotional about it, but the way I look at this whole thing is we're on the winning side. And the analogy I draw, this is the American Revolution. This is the fourth turning. All the rules are going to change. And this is the American Revolution. And fiat is the Great British Empire with King George and the rule of lords. And Bitcoin is the American revolutionaries. And in the beginning, the revolutionaries were a small number, and everyone thought Britain was unbeatable. I mean, come on, there were millions, they were larger, they had all the warships, they had all the money, they had everything. And yet a very small group of people got together and said, this is bullshit. We're not living under a king, we're not letting you eat our foodstuffs, we're not building your soldiers, and we're writing these principles down on paper, and we're gonna live by them. And there was a long time when people thought, the US would lose, and there were loyalists, and there were tons of people in the US who fought, who didn't join the revolutionaries. And I see this, we are the revolutionaries. We are absolutely the revolutionaries. We've got time and math and principles and history on our side, and we are going to win. We are absolutely, positively going to win.
And we got to win, right? I'll just summarize. We have to win because there is no alternative. We cannot continue down this path of destruction. So maybe I can, I'm looking at my buddy Plamen in the audience here who's, come here from Bulgaria. We had a great trip in Bulgaria. And he lived through a change in, leadership, let's say, communist. He didn't live there, but his country did, through the communist situation. And I saw him get emotional when he was describing the colors in his flag and what they stood for, right? And our tour guide, who was an amazing lady, interpreted the colors one way, and he basically said, no, you're wrong. This is what the colors stand for, and the bottom line is freedom, and it all revolves around freedom. And he took a stand that he will always defend freedom. And I think that's what Bitcoin is, it's freedom. I got caught up in a protest in Canada that involved some Canadian truckers. I would do it again 100%, right? Thank you. I would do it 100% because, it wasn't whether I was pro-vax or anti-vax. I have a belief on that, but I've been doubly vaccinated. Let's not go whether I would do it again that way, but what I would 100% do is defend the right to protest. It's the right to, I wasn't anti-vax, I was pro-freedom. Freedom of choice, And so these were brave young truckers that came from all sides of the Canadian country, and Canada hasn't celebrated that hard since we beat the USA in the gold medal game in Olympic hockey, okay? Like, there were people waving. It was beautiful. What did the mainstream media do? I mean, they just tarnished it. And unfortunately, even in my golf group, guys that I love to death in my golf group were like, yeah, those truckers, they're a bunch of, they're disturbing the peace. I actually had to look at my buddies, and I'm like, are you really that contaminated by the mainstream media? And unfortunately, these are my buddies who I think have a brain. And my kids are further down the experience ladder. So that's why I say for the kids, we got to just change the narrative. Freedom is, my granddad went through 2 world wars, right? Like, he didn't do that so that we could be stuffed in a box that the politicians want us to be, surveyed and surveilled and all that stuff. So yeah, it's kids, but then it's countries, it's entire. I'll say it again, if Canada doesn't get our act in order, we better start learning Spanish, because we will be reporting to the Central Americans. They will have all the smarts because they have adopted Bitcoin before we did.
Well, and Jeff, you've shared narratives as well, including on my podcast recently, about how when you were growing up, you were making $20 an hour as a lifeguard, and now your children are doing the same job as teenagers at $16 an hour in the debased currency. And so you've seen a lot of changes.
Exact same job, 40 years later, 38 years later, and they're making less than I made. And so no wonder no wonder people are fed up. No wonder there's strikes. No wonder people because they can't they can't make enough money to pay their rent or feed their family and everything else. So no wonder you see society look like this. The problem is when that happens, I hate talking about this, but we're the same biological creatures that we were 80 years ago when we did terrible things to other people on a belief that was the right thing to do. And that happens often in the world today in different regions of the world. We might be immune from it here. It happens all over the world under a belief that it's okay to do that to other people. And it's so compelling that people get coerced into that and controlled into that. And most people don't stand up to it, because standing up to it results in very big danger. Right? They say 3% of a population will overturn a government. But you never get 3% to stand up together, and dictators hold that power over, that control over, through money, and kill or imprison the people that are, and so no one stands up. So you have a silent majority that just goes along with whatever the audience is, and the minds change, and it's horrific. It's terrible. I wrote the book because you could see this coming, and you can see today everything that I wrote coming true. And from that chaos, now that's super dangerous, it's super ugly, but I can't stop that. There's nothing I can do in that system to stop that. And then what I realize is every single one of us matters. Every one of us. We have no idea the impact we make on other people. And we shouldn't know. We don't even care. Some of you came and said how much of an impact I made on you, or Greg made on me, or vice versa, and all this. We can never know the person we make an impact on, and they could tell somebody else who tells 1 million people and makes that impact. It spreads. And that's a really powerful idea, because we're in charge. It's not they. We are. And you don't have to march against the street. You have nothing. You have to walk across the bridge and buy Bitcoin. And you have to, that's it. Yeah.
Greg, you wanted to add something?
You know what? I was gonna follow that up, and then Jeff brought it home, so I would just be repeating what. But I do want to share a little tidbit of information with you guys. Having come to know Jeff over the last little while, when he gets passionate, he closes his fist and he starts talking like this. So just know that it means something when Jeff starts pointing at his fist, all right?
That's when he really cares.
And that's when things start getting serious. So you can listen to Jeff when he's doing this, but as soon as he does this, open your ears. Open your ears, all right? So,
he does it because he cares. And you swear because you care.
I swear because I care, but don't listen to me, and don't teach your kids to swear. By the way, I'm the world's most polite trader, okay? If you ever want to go and hear profanity that's outrageous, you just have to go to a trading floor, and it's actually pretty ugly, but it's how you survive. So again, I apologize. I care because I swear. I care about the kids.
You swear because you care.
I care because I swear?
Yeah.
Okay. See, this is why I have my dad and my brother right on both sides of me.
You got it backwards, but that's okay. It's okay, Foss. You're doing great.
Thank you, brother. Thank
so
you.
one quick thing to why this is so hard too is, so people think they know what a network effect is, and many talk about growth as a network effect, but the true definition of a network effect is every new user of the network makes the network stronger for every other user. And so network effects that rely on centralization, like Google or the US dollar, get to a point, and then they stop. Every new user doesn't add more value for every other user. It actually works in inverse, because the centralization has to take people out, right? I love that. But it has to, and the network effect, and so remember this: every single user creates more value for for users, and that's what's happening in Bitcoin. Every new user is adding more value, and every new store that's coming on that you pay in Bitcoin is adding another node to the system, and every one of you that's adding that node is creating more value for every single person on the network. That's creating more and more businesses that are saying, wait, now I can invest in this, now I can build a business that creates value for other people and adds more value. And all of that value, all of it, accrues to all of us as a result. That's what, so it's so powerful, but it remains decentralized in design. So it doesn't centralize and give power to somebody, and that's the biggest deal. It's such a change that we can't see because we're so early in that change, or maybe many people in this room can see, so we're early in the change. But it's what happened with the internet as well, and then the internet centralized, and gave us, and is starting to take away our rights because of that centralization, because of the US dollar centralizing and taking away rights because of that centralization. Bitcoin works in reverse, and that decentralization on a network effect drives enormous value that we can't even see. We don't know, we can't even define. People say, are you libertarian or democracy, free market? We can't even define the words of what this looks like yet, because society has never seen it before.
We're judging a system through a system, as you always say. Did you want to add something?
I was going to make the point that, and Jeff has said it well, but we're in a fourth turning, right? And the money's what's broken, but the other thing that's happening in this fourth turning is the internet and then Bitcoin are decentralizing both information and money. And it's taking away the power from the existing power structures. And to me, I mean, the internet and the combination of these two things, it's the same as Gutenberg's printing press, right? We are taking the power out of the hands of those who have abused it. King George is losing his right to rule over the colonies because we're all going to rule over ourselves. And it's coming. It's just, you can feel it coming, and all we need to do, and that's why I think sometimes, you know, you have victories where, you know, you win, you lose. I mean, in the, you know, Revolutionary War, you know, we won at Saratoga, you know, we lost at Charleston, whatever it might be, you know, but the trend, the sweep and the trend, it's so inevitably there. It's so obvious.
Can I just jump in just quickly on this? There's going to be a whole bunch of things that don't work. On Bitcoin, there's going to be businesses that fail. There's going to be a whole bunch in the existing system, a whole bunch of chaos happening. Governments are going to try to ban it in certain areas. It's going to pop up somewhere else. So all of this chaos is part of something that's just transitioning. And I think about I remember when an entrepreneur pitched me, and I was a young entrepreneur at the time, to invest in his company in 1999, and it was just balls. Sounds pretty ridiculous. I'm just going to sell balls online. Right? And he thought that was a defendable position, right? And he raised a ton of money for just balls, and then it went broke. And so those types of things will happen in this too, and a whole bunch of stuff won't work. And it'll inspire other people to say, wait, that plus that could turn into Amazon or something like that. And so all of those tests are making it stronger as well. They're just our ideas making it stronger. So just expect, as we move forward, on both sides of the equation, just a whole bunch of noise. I think even in Bitcoin, we kind of, which is the next country that's going to come on, and what we're really saying in that is, what many people are saying, when is the price going to go to 100,000? Right? That's what when does my money get worth more? It's going to happen. Or inversely, all prices are going to fall against it. It's inevitable. That's going to happen, but it's going to be messy along the way.
I want to dig into a little bit of the idea of the fourth turning that you mentioned, because something I've also heard Lawrence say on a podcast before is that a broken monetary system corrupts the morals of a society.
Absolutely.
And I've always enjoyed the meme online where it's like, strong men create easy times create weak men create hard times, and it's like a circle. And I wonder kind of where you think we're at with that, because one thing that I have noticed, and I guess, you know, everyone's a little bit different, but my parents were pretty strict, and I had to follow a lot of rules, and I'm actually grateful for that discipline growing up. But then I became actually an educator. I'm a university adjunct professor, and we have trigger warnings on our student newscasts that says, you know, if you feel uncomfortable with certain topics, you might want to leave the room. I've had students come to me saying they're not turning in their assignments because they're simply too stressed out. And that's a reasonable excuse. I would have never imagined coming to someone. I've had someone come up say, I had a bad breakup, I can't turn in my assignment. And so I do notice, unfortunately, this idea that this younger generation is almost becoming weaker. And you see more of these, you know, like safe spaces and all of that. Does Bitcoin fix that? And will we have sort of an issue getting adoption?
I'm not the one to answer that. I love the question is so huge. I need to be careful because like Bitcoin is for everybody, all right? And it's for woke people too. It is. It's for woke people too. Is that fair? Like, I'm sorry, but like, it is. And not that I'm actually happy about that. And like, I have problems with some of the woke shit that's going on, but that's my opinion. I better stop there. But like,
Let's stick with the morality. I mean, there is just absolutely no doubt that fiat money creates immorality. I mean, we can all agree on that, right? The corruption, it's unbelievable. I was on a podcast the other day, I was talking about Richard Clarita. Here's a guy who's a Fed official who in February of 2020, right before Powell pivoted and went in with his Mario Draghi imitation, he took $5 million out of his bond fund and he put it into his stock fund. 2 days later, Powell made an announcement that was relative to easing. I mean, this is corruption on a massive scale, and it's happening all over throughout society, whether it be big pharma, big business. I mean, you name it, there's corruption, and it's all driven by the money. And when the money is dishonest, the people become dishonest. They think dishonesty is rewarded, and honest people suffer. You know, it's Francisco's money speech, as we've spoken about from Atlas Shrugged. And so, you know, we've got to fix it. We've just got to fix it. The good news is that their behavior sows the seeds of their own destruction, right? Because more and more people can see it. And we're fed up, and we're not taking it anymore. And every single day, more and more people come to realize how broken it is and how the solution is sounder money, and the Bitcoin is the soundest form of money ever invented by mankind, protected by math, and that therefore, if we just consistently march in this direction, it's going to happen. It's tough for us, just as I'm sure in 1777, you know, when we were losing a battle, there were, you know, patriots who were thinking, oh, this sucks, you know, the Brits are going to get us, right? But, you know, they had the right idea, they had the right principles. You know, the document, the Declaration of Independence, probably one of the best documents ever written. And sound money, it's that foundational, it's that important. The white paper, probably one of the most important documents ever written, ever. And it's going to spread. It's just going to spread. So relax. We're all going to, you know, we're going to do great. I mean, it's hard, and it's very, what I have a problem with is I just get so angry at these people in the system who are arrogant and corrupt. It's just, it's so hard to take. It's just so hard to take. But it is what it is, and I have to learn to live with that.
Well, one of the reasons I brought up the question is because I do believe that having hard money at the base layer of an economy will strengthen it, because people have to produce value in order to get that money, which we don't have in the system right now. And I think Obi said this when I talked to him, Bitcoin is a form of meritocratic money. And today, you know, touching on what you said earlier, a lot of people feel like they're entitled to things, entitled to student loan forgiveness. There is no sense of necessarily working hard for it. And so, in my opinion, I think that Bitcoin will harden society in the sense that they will be strong men and women again.
It creates fairness, and I mean, you know, proof of work, right? It's exercise. You do the work, you get fit, right? It's all proof of work, and that's the way, you know, we were all as humans designed to operate. And you know, you mess with that, and things go wrong. And people, you know, proof of power. You know, I'm a king. I'm King George. I've got power. You know, I'm at the head. I'm at the top of a big bank. I've got power. Right?
I just want to clear something. You know, it's entitlement. The people that feel entitled to a certain outcome is what I have real trouble with in society today, and that includes my generation. They feel entitled to pulling forward riches that should accrue to our children. That's what, you know, so then maybe I should say Bitcoin includes everybody, and it's based on a principle called proof of work, which is truth, in my opinion, okay? Their entitlement is fine, because we have to help out, you know, those that are less privileged everywhere, but Bitcoin is the most meritocratic, or whatever Obi said, okay? Whatever Obi said, that's what it is.
Meritocratic.
Right? So, thank you, Obi. Thank you, brother.
So this just comes down to 99% of people have no idea what we know in this room, and many joined into this room in the beginning had no idea some of this. And so it's hard to understand. Once you're there, you can't believe everybody can't see it. And so we had people on stage here that can't see it yet. They're somewhere along the journey. And that journey is a pretty long journey. And I want to be careful of ascribing malice when it's ignorance. But then I just say, if you know the truth, like if you know that this is based on the truth, and you hide from that. So there are some people that are not great people in the existing system, and have no option except for just keep doing this. No option. And so that's what I have a hard time with. But I don't have a hard time with it. I know they're going to do it because there's bad people in every part of the system, and there's probably bad people in Bitcoin too, but there's mostly good people. And so appeal to the mostly good that they just don't know yet, and ask them that, do you want, what would society look like if you had theft in the base of society, right? A system designed around corruption in the base layer of society. What would society look like? And then what would it look like if you didn't? And then have them explain to you why there has to be corruption and the base layer. And they might just come to their own conclusion.
But that's what Jeff says. He says, meet them where they are, right? Not where you want them to be. Meet them where they are already. That'll help the argument. And it's always best when you give them enough information and then let them make the decision themselves. You don't want to jam it, or, I like to say, you can't force a marshmallow into a piggy bank, right? You got to let it happen under its own natural forces.
Yeah, I love that. And just ask questions. One of the questions you've brought up multiple times, Jeff, is just ask people, why, if technology is deflationary, why aren't things getting cheaper? Why aren't you working less when there's this system that should enable that, right? And see what their answer is. And try to we should be trying to talk to more people that we disagree with, right? Where I want to take this next is sort of a macro picture, because right now a lot of people obviously are looking at the Bitcoin price. It's a great accumulation or entry point, but others, and including myself, bought maybe at the high and are like, oh my goodness, I could have bought a little bit more if I had just waited. But none of us have a timer, right? We're all just kind of estimating when the Fed is going to pivot, and the three of you have so much experience investing and managing risk. So what do you have to share for those, maybe especially those who are very new to this space and they're trying to catch up in a sense? They're trying to achieve financial security. They're in maybe their first bear market, maybe it's a second or third, but really things look very volatile, and things feel like they're on the brink of collapse. And obviously none of us want a deflationary bust where pension funds blow up and the Fed has to come in and print so much that all of a sudden we have a Weimar Republic. So what do you want people to know given this very nuanced macro environment?
I'm going to start because these guys are way smarter than me on that front. But so I'm going to just tell you, all I bring to the table is 35 years of mistakes. Think about that. And the lucky thing is that I learned how to deal with my mistakes by selling my losers and keeping my winners. So the second lesson is asymmetric investment opportunities define careers. Bitcoin is without a doubt the best asymmetric return opportunity I have ever seen in 35 years of managing risk. Doesn't mean I'm certain. I tried to get that across to you guys before, but the wrong answer is holding 0 Bitcoin. And if you got in at 70,000 and it went down to 20,000, I would just say you got the thesis correct and your timing wasn't optimal. But that being said, in the long run, $70,000 US is going to look like a rounding error in the context of where Bitcoin is going. So don't, excuse the expression, blow your load all in one spot, okay? try to actually dollar cost average into.
You gotta love this guy.
Well, I worked on a trading
They
floor.
broke the mold. They totally broke the mold.
Okay, so just try and understand this is a 20-year investment horizon. I am extremely confident that the people in this room are doing the work that is required. And if the information changes, you need to change your investment thesis. But so far, the information has only gotten stronger as to why Bitcoin will win. That's simple.
So that's critical. For me, when I looked at this, and I went down very deep on both rabbit holes, really tried to understand this, and then I hold out, has any information changed, or is it reinforcing my thesis? And everything is reinforcing my thesis over and over and over in every single thing we do. And I'm going, why wouldn't I just keep buying? Why wouldn't I keep buying more? By the way, Bitcoin will never go to 0. You know why? Because I'll buy it from all of you. Right?
And Michael Saylor, who has bigger bags, will jump in front of you. But that's all good.
I can't see something today. I may be wrong, but I can't see anything that would change that thesis. Short term, things are going to move up and down. But if you have that strong conviction and you're watching for something to change your thesis and trying to be proved wrong, and you know something that nobody else knows, Keep on accumulating. It's the best time ever, and that's what Greg's saying. Those asymmetric opportunities on something that the world hasn't seen yet. Here's the truth. For it to be an asymmetric bet requires that most of the world doesn't see it. It's a requirement. So celebrate it. Celebrate that nobody gets it yet. And celebrate that what are they doing? What are they trying to attack it? Celebrate all that because it's actually what's creating your asymmetric bet.
Currency events, and this is a currency event, it's a fourth turning that's around the fact that we have unsound money, which is broken. It's creating a sovereign debt crisis, which is creating a currency event. Currency events are by their very nature extremely volatile. There's a great chart on the internet. I posted it many times. I'll try and post it again quickly on my Twitter feed by Dan Oliver of Myrmican that shows the volatility, the monthly volatility of the gold Weimar mark exchange when the Weimar mark was going to zero. Eventually, it became paper that they were burning for heat. But on any given month, some of the swings were unbelievable. I mean, they were Bitcoin-like swings, up 70%, down 70% kind of things. And that's to be expected, and it's difficult. There's a solution, dollar cost average. Natalie and I would say use SWAN, and blatant plug. And in turn, don't use leverage. I mean, I can't tell you how I was so disappointed to see, and we talked about this, Plan B was telling everybody it's going to 150 immediately. And, a bunch of people, sadly, young guys, thinking, okay, I want to get richer quicker, levered up. They put their one Bitcoin and they bought 5, and then it moved against them, and boom, they didn't have 1 anymore, right? And so leverage is deadly in this kind of a volatile environment. You've got to know what you own, know why you own it, hold it off-chain securely, so you control the keys, and then just sit back and wait. And there's no doubt you're going to end up richer and better off financially. And the reason I say that is it's obvious in the sense that there are 7 billion human beings on the planet. There are 21 million of these coins. We don't know how many got lost, but it's not many. I mean, it's enough to, we're still maybe at 17 or 18 million that are available. And the 7 billion is going to come down and want some piece of that. And when that happens, as that happens, it's happening. I mean, I love the earlier, way back in the beginning, the first day, somebody made the comment, it's not about number go up, it's user go up. That's what I watch. And I see
Number of people go
number
up.
of users of the protocol go up. And when you look at Nigeria and the penetration there, you look at El Salvador, you look at the Mun wallet. I mean, every chance I get, I try to orange pill people with a Mun wallet. I've had 80-year-old investors in my fund. I've sent them $1 on the Mun wallet, and they're like, oh my God, this thing is revolutionary. Well, they're going to tell their friends. And that's what we all can do. Get out there and spread the word. You want to make the revolution happen faster? Talk a lot about the revolution, right? That's why we're here on our own nickel.
Can I add that I love meeting you guys personally, so a thank you to everyone who's come up. I got a keychain, right, made today for me by a beautiful older lady, but still young at heart. But that being said,
man, you have to
hold on.
Jesus, boss.
Open mouth and insert foot.
Exactly.
All right, open mouth and insert foot. But here's what I know. Look. There was a young kid who came here with his Helen! I love you. Okay, I'm so sorry. Sometimes they say stuff that comes out totally wrong. Most of the time.
Come on stage and do what you need to do.
Come
Here's what
up and smack him.
All right, here we go. This is my point. A 28-year-old kid brought his, I'm going to say older father here. All right, I don't know the age, but he wasn't young. And all I know is that is beautiful, right? It's beautiful. It is beautiful. So it's for the kids, but it's also for the parents too. Okay? It's for everybody. Please do the work. You're not going to get it right away. I think I've studied Bitcoin for over 1,000 hours. Actually, I bet you it's twice that, and I still haven't learned everything. It is the most beautiful technology and financial innovation I have ever seen. And my God, this is from a guy that grew up with a rotary dial telephone, okay? You guys are growing up with an iPhone. It should be so much easier for you guys to see it. And you will. And so will your parents. Please do the work. Hug your kids and hug your parents too. How about that?
Love that. I want to come back to one of your points, but first I just want to ask in the audience, because I think that the human psychology of investing is so interesting with the FOMO. When it was running up to 60, 68, were any of you thinking, oh, it's going to blast past 100, it's never going to go sub 50K, I have to get in, I have to buy?
Absolutely.
Yeah, see, I was like that too. I thought for sure it's going to go to 150 and it'll settle down when it crashes at like 50K. We're never going to see 20. But Bitcoin will do things you don't expect. So you have to properly manage your risk. And I want to come back to the point you just made about education. It takes so much work to understand Bitcoin because you need to understand economics and unlearn what you may have learned in school that's completely backwards, honestly. So when I think of for the kids, I really do think of education because we have very poor financial literacy, in my opinion, in the US and in other countries. So where do you see the challenges and maybe the bright spots in terms of getting that education out there in a way that's easily digestible for the average person who may not have the type of financial knowledge and background that you three have?
Well, the good news is YouTube and Twitter and all that sort of stuff, but Greg has done this stuff with Looking Glass, which is really powerful. And I mean, I think we all know that if you get online and you direct people to things, you can orange pill them that way. I mean, there are a lot of resources, as we all know, right? I'm sorry, Jeff, I cut you.
Yeah, no, education's free today. And you can learn, you can get to anybody, and you can learn just about any subject and get to the smartest people on a subject, and it's literally free. That's something that never existed before. 30 years ago, you had to create an education system because information wasn't moving as fast to be able to rally up, to be able to teach teachers who taught everybody the same thing. The teachers can't keep up to the rate of growth today. And so you could expect that everybody has that power of education. And so it's incumbent upon us to use it. But most of what we would do is spend our time on the titles of media to drive media views and everything else, and we waste our time. But we can learn any subject. So I would say it's looking through what we talked about before. It's looking through that misinformation and trying to find signal in the noise. All of you here have found, I hope, have found signal, and you're going to go and spread that signal, and it's incumbent upon all of us to do that. Now, beyond that, to stay out of the noise for you and everyone that you meet. Instead of thinking what's going to happen tomorrow, what the bond yields are going to do tomorrow or the next day, or what this country is going to do, imagine where you want your life to be in 10 years. Imagine where you want your kids' life to be in 10 years, and imagine building towards that 10-year part. It'll remove you from the fray. And then when you see yourself looking back from now in 10 years, you're going to see yourself sitting at this conference, and you're going to go, fuck, I was there. I was part of it. I did that. And that's going to create, and that type of thing, if you can look past that and you can say, I was a part of changing the world. I was right there early in changing the world. You're going to look back at these times and all the people that you met, like these people, these beautiful friends that I've met on stage, Plamen in Bulgaria, all of these people in this community that are literally changing the world, that when we look back on it, we'll go, what a ride.
So, well said, eh? And there's an expression in trading, I think probably most of you have heard me say it, risk happens fast. With social media and the information flow that's not controlled by a centralized, by and large by centralized mainstream media, risk now happens faster, right? Because information is disseminated in various different forms. But here's my chance to shout out to the young kids, and you, Natalie, and Dylan LeClaire, and these kids that are literally, Marty Bent, more than half my age, that
Jason
honestly know so much more, probably know more than I know right now. And this is what gives me comfort that we are on the right track. So, keep studying, embrace, my chance to say thank you to the younger folks that are coming up from below that are going to make the world a better place. And yes, I'm proud to be part of this. Thank you for dragging me along in your, Jose, thank you for dragging me along in your brilliance, okay?
Yeah, Bitcoin is hope. Lawrence, any final thoughts as well?
Oh, I don't know what else to say. I'm honored to be here. I love everybody in this room. If you're a Bitcoiner, you're my friend. It's kind of by definition. It's simple. We got. I mean, my tagline on Twitter, and I think I stole it from Marty Ben, is "Fix the money, fix the world," and I really believe that. We got to fix the money. If we do, we'll fix the world.
Well, that is a beautiful place to end it, and I love what Jeff Booth always talks about online as well. We really need to create the world we want to see. We need to build it. We need to envision it, not focus on the polarization, the division that exists in the old world, but we need to focus on the new one. So thank you, Jeff Booth, Greg Foss, Lawrence Lepard, everybody. Thank you.
A huge round of applause. These are the guys. Without them, we couldn't have done the conference.